And the more data you collect about yourself, the more you know what you can do to optimize your health, I guess. It's the whole Brian Johnson thing. Allegedly, right?
Allegedly, yeah.
Bringing you a reasoned approach to health and fitness. This is the Phi Life Podcast.
Welcome to the Phi Life Podcast. I'm John Barban. With me is Brad Pilon. And today I want to talk about continuous glucose monitors being used by people who are not diabetic. Okay. And this is becoming a bigger and bigger trend in the ever-growing space of health, of biohacking.
Right.
And the more data you collect about yourself, the more you know what you can do to optimize your health, I guess. It's the whole Brian Johnson thing. Allegedly, right?
Allegedly, yeah.
Yeah. So the idea of a continuous glucose monitor is it's a little device you wear somewhere, typically on your arm.
They're so small now. They're like a size of a quarter. That's ridiculous.
It's like the size of a quarter. It's got a tiny little needle in it, and then you use this little device that you just jam it into your arm, and then it's just collecting data on your glucose, your blood glucose at all times, like hundreds of measurements a day. And it interfaces with an app, and you can click the button to get your exact number at that moment at any time you want. And I've done this a couple of times with the health clinic I was at just to see if I have any potential underlying, let's say, pre-diabetic condition that isn't necessarily picked up on your HbA1c or your blood glucose.
Oh, you were doing it too because some of the drugs or things you were doing to lower your cholesterol could also affect blood glucose.
Some of the niacin and a couple other things I was taking might potentially have an effect on insulin resistance. So you could use a glucose monitor to test that theoretically versus just doing an HbA1c or a blood glucose, because those are just a snapshot, a moment in time, or the HbA1c is meant to be an average over time. It more or less tells you what's been going on for a while, but it won't tell you your exact response to a meal. Or like a glucose tolerance test.
Right.
So where you drink 75 grams straight of glucose and you see how both your glucose and your insulin respond, which is, most people have never done that. So it's a little bit like that. So I've done that, but under the guidance of this physician for a specific reason, it made sense.
Right.
But when these people are just following some kind of recommendation online, it may not be the best use of their time. They also might get a little obsessive compulsive or worried with the data if they have nothing to compare it to.
Yes. So
the real problem with glucose monitors for people who aren't diabetic is they've largely only been tested and validated in people that are diabetic.
Right. Yeah.
And there's not a huge base of research on just average, normal, non-diabetic people using these to compare whatever your number turns out to be.
And I can remember there was a kid on Rose hockey team a year or two ago now. And he was one of those kids who just fluky became type 1, like at 13.
Yeah.
And so he had to do the monitor. And you can imagine, right, during a hockey game, his parents just sitting there with alerts. It's like low, high, low, high. It was just fluctuating all over the place. And they realized, oh my God, this is almost unusable. During a game. So even for someone who this is designed for, there are times where it's barely usable data there too. So I can only imagine what it would look like for a normal person.
Well, yeah. So when I had it on, I would drop very low overnight, and the alarm would keep going off. But I called my physician the next day. I said, "What is that?" He's like, "Oh, it's most people's glucose drops at night. The device has 2 alarms at 2 thresholds. You can turn one off, but not the other." He's like, that's why it keeps going off. You just can't turn that threshold off. But this is a normal pattern you're going through, but the monitor assumes it's a problem.
Right.
So, but if I didn't have a physician on tap ready to give me an answer, and an answer from at least data he's collected from many other people in the clinic,
right,
I could be really worried about that. Like my family physician, my general practitioner, he wouldn't know that.
No,
because he doesn't put anybody on these things.
Right.
This is from a private clinic that's been doing this for a little while.
If you took your numbers and just threw it in the chat, you'd be like, oh something's wrong. Right.
Well, you know what? Chat might even have some database of people that are offering it up. But what I'm saying is it's not the same as when you go get your blood glucose done or your HbA1c. And there's quite a bit of data, population data on what those numbers are.
Right.
Or glucose monitor numbers, but in diabetics, because there's a fair bit of data on those numbers in diabetics.
Right.
Also, there's an error range on the monitors that it makes more sense for a diabetic to be using it because their glucose swings are much larger, or likely way larger than someone who's not diabetic. So if the error range is a bit bigger, it's fine when you're talking about someone whose glucose is going way up compared to someone who's normal blood glucose control. So the error range needs to be tighter if you're trying to measure a smaller range. So there's a bunch of reasons why it doesn't make a whole lot of sense unless you have a good reason why. There's a goal, a target. Once you have your answer, you're like, okay. But people could start getting obsessed about seeing their blood sugar move after eating.
That's what I was wondering. It sounds almost addictive, dopamine type stuff, right? Like just
it's supposed to move after eating. And the other thing is you don't know a baseline. When was the last time you wore one of these?
Right. So I was also thinking we have, like, for instance, after not a 24-hour fast necessarily, but when you hit that 450 to 70 range, when you start eating again, you will be slightly non-responsive to your insulin because your body's still clearing your fat was being released in your bloodstream. You're going to burn. That fat doesn't immediately disappear. So for the 4 to 5 hours at the end of a fast, even though you've eaten, that body fat has been broken down still in your bloodstream. It has to be cleared first. Yeah. But if you didn't know that, you'd be like, oh my God, fasting is making me insulin resistant, right? Like look at my blood sugar and that. So after really intense exercise for a lot of people, same thing. And to your experience, certain high dose, certain vitamins. Yeah. It was niacin, right? Yeah. So there's lots of ways you could falsely, not falsely, because you're truly changing the numbers, but in a way that someone would in the knowledge base behind it would be like, oh, that makes sense, as opposed to you thinking, oh my gosh, something's wrong. Right. So,
so I don't want to completely poo-poo
dismiss
them.
It. Yeah.
But what we need to make them more useful, and maybe this is coming, is solid normalized data on all of those use cases in non-diabetic people. So post-exercise, different kinds of exercise. If you're the type that does a 16/8 fast or 24-hour fast, is there any normalized data on what CGM data looks like for someone doing that who's not diabetic? Probably not. So whatever number you get, like Brad said, you might get a weird number. Well, what you think is weird compared to what? There's no chart to tell you what that number should be. So there's a bunch of cases that we need data to come up with normalized numbers. So then you can look at what your number means compared to the norm, if there even is a norm.
And I worry about a subset of people there, because we all have that friend who, I don't know, goes to the gym, works out, pulls a muscle in their armpit, and is pretty sure the next day that they have a tumor, right? Like they just go to the darkest, quickest spot. And I just worry that kind of fluctuation, it would really not affect them in a positive way. So that would be my other concern. But I guess to your point, having more normalized data would help calm them down. But for people who are prone to that kind of thinking, this could be not the best idea.
Yeah, I don't want to say less information is good. What I'm trying to say is with nothing to compare it to, you don't know what these numbers mean.
Good. Yes. I like
that
too.
And two things. You don't have your own data to compare it to. You don't know what your glucose was 10 years ago. Right. If you just put one on, like I tried one at 47 years old. I don't know if that number I saw at 47 was any different than me at 37.
Good, better, worse? You have no clue.
Same, better, worse, good. Am I improving? Am I getting worse? So once there's enough data in non-diabetic people to validate basically all the readings you get from a glucose monitor in all the different, like someone like me on a niacin and a stat, does that change it or not? Maybe.
And the other thing, I just realized we also have friends who will make that association right away. So they're like, my insulin is really messed up, but I had a headache yesterday. Therefore, headaches cause your glucose to go up. And if that's it, they don't want to hear anything else. That's just something they now know. I worry with without the data you're talking about, with the glucose monitor, they'd be making quick assumptions. You'd get people being like, the red M&Ms make your sugar go up higher. Because I had red M&Ms, they went up higher. That's a fact, right?
When you have real-time data like that.
Spurious data.
You can click the button, get your number anytime you want. And then, let's say you're having a funny feeling. You click the button, you get a readout on your glucose monitor app dashboard.
Yep.
And you're like, see there, my glucose is at this number. and I was feeling a little sweaty or something. So now I know
at 4.3, I get sweaty. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So you need like a base level of confidence in knowing that things fluctuate, and you just don't exactly know what those numbers mean yet.
Yeah.
So it's got some value, but it's limited because we just don't have comparative charts.
I guess a way to describe it for a lot of people is a fair amount of data just means nothing. Like there is some data that is a significant event.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of other data. It just means, it's moving, it's changing, but it means zero, nothing. You don't have to concern yourself. But I don't know if so many people, if they want to optimize.
No action step needs to be taken.
Exactly.
So I guess to wrap it up, you can use them, understand their limits. It's a lot of data with no real good comparison data to see where you are. Am I above, below? Am I on the curve? Most of those curves aren't established yet for people who aren't diabetic. So its only real use is potentially after a meal, maybe at night after you wake up. Are you way, way outside of normal ranges? Like, are you?
And then even then, you don't. It's a glucose monitor. It's not an insulin monitor. It's not a growth hormone monitor. It's not so you don't know the other factors. Right?
All it can do, potentially, if the number is so way, way off, maybe ask your physician. Say that number is really high.
Oh,
like like I'm way out of range here. Like this, it's almost like it's only useful if you are diabetic and you just didn't know it, and you receive a diabetic number.
That's a great example.
Almost something like that. But if you're anything not in those ranges, we don't know enough yet. We don't have enough data to compare it to yet to know if that's just you. That's where you are on the curve, and you're not headed towards diabetes. That's just where you are.
Yeah.
Like some people's resting heart rates are higher than others.
Yeah.
It's fine. Some people's blood pressure is different than someone else's, and that's within a certain range. That's just who you are. But you don't know if you just measure it for the first time, you don't know if you're on your way up, you're on your way down, or that's just what you've always been.
Yeah.
So without any of that information, the monitor is kind of limited. So if you're going to use one, just understand its limitations, and don't freak out when you see your blood glucose changing, because it's going to change all day long.
Yeah,
it's going to change all day long.
A lot. Yeah.
Yeah,
so, I think it's a good spot. Yeah, just let them know
that's where we're headed, though. Just the more information you have about your body, the easier it is to get obsessive compulsive about it.
Yes.
So you just got to take all that into account if you're going to start doing this sort of measurement.
Exactly.
I think that's a good place to leave it.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So for Brad Pilon, I'm John Barban, and that's your Phi Life Podcast.